Are you not entertained? I hope you are. This is Adam Pecora, and you are listening to Requiem for a Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. How the hell are you? Took the Thanksgiving week off, and we are back, baby. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Requiem for a Tuesday. We are available on all major platforms. Thank you. Share the episode. Check out all the links in the description below. We got merch. There's music and stuff. That's about it. But that's a lot of stuff. A lot of music and some merch. So that's fun. But subscribe and share. Subscribe and share. Subscribe and share. Please and thank you. It's Gladiator time. Listen, Ridley Scott weirdly has a lot of oversight on my part. It's just kind of the way the cookie crumbled, if you will. I've talked about this on the show before, but yeah, I don't know. Just a blind spot. Honestly, even most Tony Scott movies I haven't seen. But like I've seen some and I like the ones I've seen, but whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. Still haven't seen The Last Duel. I am interested, but what can you do? Look at all these movies I haven't seen. It's unbelievable. Thelma and Louise, G.I. Jane. Not that interested in that, frankly. I'd watch Hannibal. It's probably not good, but I'd watch it. Black Hawk Down, haven't seen it. Matchstick Men, haven't seen it. Not that that's supposed to be great or anything. Kingdom of Heaven, haven't seen it. What is that about? Is that like ancient shit? He loves the ancient shit. Epic historical, yep. The Third Crusade. See, that's tough. See, but like this is what I thought Gladiator was going to be like. But I don't know. But I don't know if this is boring, I guess is my point. But I thought that Gladiator all these years was going to be some like slog. American Gangster, still haven't seen it. I've heard Body of Lies is good, but I have not seen it. Prometheus, love Prometheus. And then after that, yeah, it's like I didn't see The Martian. People love The Martian. I don't know. Not interested in House of Gucci. So, there's a lot to be seen by Sir Ridley. But again, so my reservation on seeing the initial Gladiator film was pretty much, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a historical epic drama. I thought it was going to be a slog, is I guess my point. I didn't realize that it was such a like popcorn action movie and that there's really only like 10, 15 minutes of like snooze fest dialogue. So that was a pleasant surprise. The movie opens with just an excellent, like, war scene. The Roman Empire just taking over some town, whatever the fuck they're doing. I don't know. That's also what's great about Gladiator is, like, none of the story matters at all. You know? And, it's not that it's, like, poorly told and there's, like, all these holes, although maybe there were. I don't know. You don't really have to know. It's like, he's Russell Crowe. He's leading the army. Oh, no, not anymore. Now he's fighting back. You get it. Avenging your family, great. Tale old as time. That's why it's the Roman times, because same tale, different time. So all of that's great. Then after the battle's awesome. Pretty extended. This weird, like, I don't even know how to put it. It's like a surreal vibe. I don't know, the way the movie looks. There's like an aura, an air around it. It's almost like a painting, kind of. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's like a look to it, and that's fun. The battle's great, goes on for a minute, then the battle ends, and then it's just like talk, and this like fucking fake Shakespearean thing. Everybody has a British accent speaking English. It's Italy. Can we at least do Italian accents on these people? I've never understood that. It's literally the Roman Empire. It is not the British Empire. So I don't get that. And it's like Russell Crowe's Australian, but I'm pretty sure he was doing a British accent. Maybe I go back, he's just doing Australian. I don't know. Just why are we doing an accent at all? They're speaking English anyway. I don't know. I see the argument either way. Because then there was like Tom Cruise and Valkyrie, pretty sure famously was just doing his voice. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. Are Italian accents post Marcus Aurelius? Perhaps. But am I supposed to know that? No. So anyway, yeah, this movie weirdly is historical, but not historical. It uses real figures, but kind of bends the truth, whatever. I don't really care about that, I guess. But at the same time, it's well, why use any of the real ones? But, then you're trying to say it's ancient Rome. It's well, at that time, this person, you can't win. Same thing with a fictional president. I always think that that's odd. But I don't know. It's an alternate universe. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a movie. But it's hard for me to not get hung up on stuff like that. But you shouldn't. I'm aware that you shouldn't. But I'm also guilty of it. So Joaquin Phoenix is a little bitch boy, son of Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was running Rome like a fucking hummingbird. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. It seemed like it was fine. But he's just a little crybaby bitch who wants to fuck his sister or whatever. And Marcus Aurelius is basically I'm going to give the country to Maximus, Russell Crowe. Fuck you creepy little fucking kid. Right call. I mean, as a business decision, I see why a kid wouldn't understand that that's the right call, Little Roman Roy situation. But whatever. And then he kills his dad, where I believe in reality it was they actually ruled together and somebody just killed the kid. The dad died on his own and then the kid sucked, so then somebody killed him. Because that's what it was. You just kill, then somebody's emperor, then you kill him, then you're emperor or whatever. So, yeah, and then Russell Crowe, instead of getting to, lead the country, is then brought out into the woods to be murdered. But he's such a good warrior, gets out of it, gets back to the village. His family's been murdered. He is then this part's unclear. He gets out or he doesn't get out or what. I don't understand how he then ends up being a gladiator slave, but some other army picks him up that's not aware that he's wanted or something. Word doesn't travel. I understand that, but still. I wasn't paying that close of attention either. But anyway, he ends up being he's now a slave and does gladiator shit. But he's on the low circuit. This is almost kind of like a sports movie once he becomes a slave. Weirdly, he's oh, I'm going to start out in the minor league and I'm going to work my way up. And now we're in this slightly bigger stadium, a little bit higher competition. I'm working my way up to the Coliseum where the big boys play. So that was kind of an interesting concept. And the movie just kind of takes off. Once we're done with all the little discussion stuff, he there's a little bit of talk when he's a minor league slave. But by the time he gets up to the major league slave, we have a lot of action going on. And yeah, he just wins a bunch of battles, no matter what, fights animals. It's all great. And honestly, the effects in this movie are better than the effects in the Gladiator 2. Which isn't great. And then at the end, Joaquin Phoenix cheats because he needs to cheat to win and then still loses. And then Russell Crowe dies too. And it's all right, well, that wasn't really that necessary. And then that's pretty much it. Yeah. The sister helps him, but then, he catches on, whatever. Rome's for the Senate, or the Senate's for the people. Give it to the people. It's good. It was very good. I think because it was so prestigious in terms of Oscar wins, that's why I assumed it was more of a snoozer. That it was just going to be some long historical drama with like a few really good scenes maybe in the Coliseum. But this is pretty much just a fucking action movie. Total popcorn flick. It's great. Probably not deserving of all the Oscars and stuff. Frankly, I mean, good for you, Ridley Scott. I'm not taking it away. And this movie was incredibly well made in every way. I guess it's just surprising how much violence there is in terms of an Oscar win. I feel like that is uncommon. Maybe a makeup win. I don't know. You know, he has basically been snubbed across the board otherwise, I feel like. He won for Thelma, I think. But either way, great flick. I have no complaints. Everything about it was incredibly well made, historical, all that. Didn't care how accurate it was because, you know, what, you're supposed to fucking keep track of all the Roman emperors. There's a new emperor every 2 fucking years. What's the difference if this is telling the story accurately? Somebody died, somebody took over, it all fell apart. Like that's the story it's telling. So whatever. You know. It's just like Neil deGrasse Tyson is like, actually, a spaceship couldn't do that. It's like, yeah, it's a fucking movie, man. You know? It's weird what fits the criteria, you know? The criteria. It's weird what fits the criteria. Because, like, you know, Inglourious Bastards is obviously so intentional. Like, it's viewed as, like, revisionist fiction or whatever the term is. Because it's so blatantly obvious that it's doing something else. Because it's such a well-documented thing. That, you know what I mean? That it doesn't need to be like, they're literally, if you'd be a fucking moron, if you're I wrote a social studies book, here's what actually happened in World War II. It's like, yeah, we fucking know, man. It's a movie, you know, whatever. I don't think that Gladiator was being pitched as a true story. Like, Maximus is literally a fictional character. I don't know if he is, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's fun. Have fun. We're having fun. All right. So yeah, good time. Wish I'd seen it sooner, but I watched it in time to go see Gladiator 2 in theaters. And let me tell you, Gladiator 2, same movie, essentially. Before the movie started, I will say, some exciting things that happened. Number one, Den of Thieves 2. They're putting it out in Dumpuary. I can't believe they actually made it all these years later. Den of Thieves, a lot of fun. Way too long. Basically, baby's first Heat. But fun. But more fun. Like Gerard Butler B-movie. It's like if Heat was a straight-to-DVD movie starring Steven Seagal in 1989 first or something. But better than Steven Seagal. Fuck Steven Seagal. You know, that was just, you know, you get the idea. Maybe a little bit better now. Anyway, the second one looks awesome. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. A genuinely good reveal at the end of Den of Thieves. Just too long. But whatever. How long is Den of Thieves 2 going to be, actually? Let me check. Let's find that out live on the show, shall we? Den of Thieves 2. Oh, yeah, it's Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Which, like, is that the name of an album by Pantera? Because that would be funny if we just did all that. It is, the length is not listed. What? Do we not know how long this is going to be? Ooh, I'm seeing 2 hours flat. That's good. Then if the first one's like 2.5 for no reason at all. It's a 2.5 hour straight to DVD quality action movie. But the best one. It's like the best straight to DVD movie of all time that came out in theaters. Anyway. So that was exciting. Also, I finally remembered to talk about this fucking crazy-ass movie, Better Man, that, like, we're really dedicating fucking money to this. This movie's budget, I don't know what it was, but it has a full CGI monkey in it, and it's the story about Robbie Williams. I don't know who Robbie Williams is, But this is insane. It looks fucking terrible. It's fucking ridiculous. He's a champ. He's a chimp that talks, so he's in a band. It's like, we should have at least, like, tried to make this like a spin-off of the Planet of the Apes, where it's like, oh, what if in the future, one of the evolved apes is Robbie Williams? But then I guess, yeah, that he wouldn't have like a human audience. I've seen the trailer for this like 3 or 4 times now. It's absolutely insane. I hope nobody goes to see this. And if it's somehow good, whatever, like, good for them. Ridiculous premise. A Big W finally didn't see the Wolfman trailer at a movie, so that was great. On to Gladiator 2. It's the same movie. They said it like 15 years later, and I'll just give you this is all spoiler, whatever. You don't care. It's Gladiator 2. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. And that's the whole thing. The first movie, none of it mattered. Like I said, the story doesn't matter. Story doesn't matter in this one. You know, they're gladiators, and they unnecessarily retconned the first movie so Russell Crowe, like, says more before he dies to make it so that Paul Mescal is his kid. There's no need for Paul Mescal to be Russell Crowe's kid in this movie. It adds nothing because it wasn't a thing. It didn't help that I just watched it like a day or two before, whatever it was. But it's just like, well, he's definitely not this kid. Like, it's the Joaquin Phoenix's sister who returns, you know, the daughter of Marcus Aurelius. She is in this movie playing the mom of Paul Mescal. The kid is in the first movie. It's just literally her kid with her husband. And there's no hints of that happening or being a thing, that it would somehow be Maximus's kid, and they're both just not talking about it the whole movie. And they retcon it so it's just like, oh, you know, you don't have to remember whether or not they didn't talk about it the whole movie. Like, it's just so unnecessary. If anything, why not retcon it so it's like, oh, they burned the wrong kid and crucified the wrong kid in Gladiator, and his kid actually survived but was sold into slavery or whatever. Instead, they make it so it's just like the mom abandons him, but then she's just like, I did it for your own good. And he's like, oh, well, now that you said it to my face, I get it. And then they make up, and then she gets killed right away. And there's no emotional weight or stakes because that's not his mom. Or that is his mom. But she shouldn't have needed to send him away for no reason, because that shouldn't be the right thing. You know what I mean? So that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Paul Mescal, the whole movie, just plays the same thing. He's a guy. There's an attack on his town, and the Romans win, and they kill his wife. So, dead wife, same thing, need to avenge. This time, he's straight into the slavery because the Romans captured him. And he wants to avenge by killing Pedro Pascal, who is the leader of that army that takes them over. Pedro Pascal's great in this movie. Paul Mescal's great in this movie. Denzel's amazing in it. Everybody's great in this movie. It's kind of exactly the same thing. It's incredibly well made in every way, except in this one, the CGI is pretty terrible at a lot of points, which I'll get to. But nonetheless, still an incredibly entertaining movie. It's basically like 85% as good as the first movie, which is great. In terms of like a sequel, like it's as good of a sequel as you'll really get outside of the ones that surpass their predecessor, but that is as rare as anything could be. Now, Paul Mescal then, same thing, works his way up, blah, 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 but he does it through Denzel, so they make this guy, you know, he becomes more of a main character. He's kind of like, he's the Don King to Paul Mescal's Mike Tyson, you know, where he's like, he's following through on his promises to Paul Mescal to like get him worked up to the Coliseum. Again, that like, it's like the indie circuit trying to go pro. And he delivers on his promises, but he's also being nefarious and selfish at the same time, kind of like doing that thing. So there's some nice parallels to sports yet again. They have a fight scene in front of the emperors, which, it's not the Mandingo fight quality, but it's still pretty good. It seems like all I could think of was the Mandingo fight at the moment, where it's literally like, the master's making slaves fight in front of them to the death. They're supposed to just box, which wasn't, the Mandingo fight was always to the death. Anyway, the emperors are two like weird, sickly, gay little twins. They're like the McPoyle brothers for some reason. Like one of them literally, they later are just like his dick disease went to his head. So I think it's implied he has like medieval syphilis or whatever. That was all odd. And I remember I was ripped going into this movie because I knew that at 2.5 hours I was going to need it, or I would have grown impatient at some points probably. First of all, the movie fucked me with, I know it's not literally first of all, but you know what I mean. It's a matter of speaking here. Stop judging me. I fucking know you're judging me because I know it. The aspect ratio of this whole movie was off. So it could have fit like the full screen that I was looking at. But instead, you could see that there were like black bars on the sides to where the actual projector was going to go. But because the movie was the aspect ratio of the actual screen, not what the projector was limited to, they had to shrink it even more. So within the lit black box, there's another box. So like the movie, it was like it was an illegal stream, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Or if you get a bootleg DVD and there was a box around the entire movie, not just like black bars horizontally or vertically. And I don't know what that was about. That was terrible. That really bothered me because it was just like an average size screen to begin with, and then it was shrunk. So that was irritating. So anyway, I just remember thinking like, is this also some weird allegory about like, not that I agree or disagree with any of this. I'm just a guy making observations. So if your panties have a tendency to knot, that's on you already. So when they get tight and knotted up, that is your decision. So anyway, I just remember thinking like, oh, is this some weird like statement on Trump winning? That they're like, oh, look at these gay little Democrat leaders and how terrible of a job they're doing with their weird little antics. And now we need to get like a real man in here to put his foot down and step on your balls. Like it seemed like that was like weirdly a layer in there. And that very well could be true. That could have been the weed. I don't know what that was. But it seemed like there was some weird like statement thing. But I also do know that, well, I don't know, but I hear people say, so I assume that it's true, that like at the end of the Roman Empire that things did get all weird like that. Not that, whatever. Weird, not weird, whatever you want to say. My point is that all of a sudden it went to like gender politics and identity and stuff, which is what's happening here right now. That it could have just been they're trying to be somewhat accurate to the times, but we also know that that's not really important. So I don't know. Is there some message in here? Perhaps. I think that would be funny if that were true. So maybe that's just why I choose to believe it. But it did enter my brain. So anyway, Denzel pretty much just easily manipulates these people and kind of briefly takes over and becomes the Emperor of Rome before he's chopped to pieces because everybody just instantly respects Paul Mescal because his dad was Maximus. I don't know. I think ultimately if the emperors, I guess they weren't killed publicly, right? How did that happen? I don't know. Either way, it kind of seemed like the city went into revolt. There was definitely a riot out of the Colosseum. And then both armies, the army left. So the whole city's being rioted, but they act like there's like some happy ending. And Paul Mescal just walks back into the Colosseum. They kind of just ignore the fact that like there should be entire chaos because the city has no leadership, or the empire. There we go. So the ending, they kind of just end it, and then he's just like, like, feel me, father, and he grabs the sand in like the spot where he died in the Coliseum, and then it's like implied that Paul Mescal dies because he does the like hand through the fucking like cornfield shit, which was like a sign of Russell Crowe crossing over to the other side. So I don't know if it was implied that like he was dying also, or he was just like in touch with Russell Crowe in the fields, like they were just like in sync for that moment, or whatever the fuck. But the ending was pretty lackluster. Denzel's manipulation to get his way through the top was pretty awesome. I kind of wish they had made it seem more significant, I guess, because they just like tried so hard to make Paul Mescal the star when really like Denzel probably should have been the star, because Paul Mescal doesn't get to where he gets without Denzel doing it. Look, ultimately, again, it all doesn't matter. The whole thing is like, are the fight scenes sick? Pretty much, yes. There's the first one is a bunch of baboons that are clearly just cartoons, and it doesn't even seem like Paul Mescal's actually fighting it. Like, you can just tell he's just like doing choreography, and they didn't even really animate over it that well, and they probably should have done a few more takes. The cinematographer came out and was like, Ridley Scott's lazy and just wants to CGI out other cameras, and I don't get to light things properly because we're supposed to do like different setups for different cameras. I totally understand what he's talking about. However, just the CGI is bad. You can't tell that the lighting wasn't good in certain situations. The movie is shot pretty well. Now, not as well, notably, as Gladiator. Like, I guess that's what I would say the biggest difference is. Like, number one, it's the same story, so that's a negative thing. Like, I could just watch Gladiator, is ultimately the point. Now, the Denzel switch up and stuff is enough that this movie has its own interesting things going on. And while Joaquin Phoenix was good, like, his character's way less interesting. Like, the emperors that are weird as hell are technically more interesting, albeit weird as hell. And Denzel is more interesting. He's more interesting than anyone in either movie. So in that regard, they're kind of even. But the CGI is worse, and the overall cinematography is better in the original. And the fact that the CGI is better in the original is fucked up. The baboon stuff's really bad. There's a rhino thing that's solid and fine and whatever. And then there's a battleship thing, which I always heard about. They used to fill the Coliseum with water, so it's cool that they did that. The sequencing of that's a little odd. It kind of seems like the Roman guys kind of don't really do that much to fight back. Just kind of seems like they probably could have won that one. And yeah, it was good. You never felt like Paul Mescal was going to lose, but you never really felt like Russell Crowe was going to lose either. Again, I wish that they just didn't make it connected to Gladiator at all. Like, it's connected by the fact, it's 15 years later. Here are some of the characters that you remember. Marcus Aurelius' daughter is still here. She's still trapped because no one will just give her the fucking empire that she deserves because she's a woman. And then the guy from the Senate was the same guy. And, there's a few people throughout the movie that are carryovers. And it's like, that's the connection. It's just Rome later. To pigeonhole in and retcon the son, make him Maximus' son, it had no impact. It had a negative impact. And it had no emotional resonance. And it didn't mean any more when Aurelius' daughter died. That's just a fact. So, yeah, if they wanted to connect it to Maximus, there should have been some other way. Like I've said, maybe it's his kid and they burned the wrong kid. And that would still be bad and stupid. I think just here's another slave that through his fire of wanting to avenge the death of his wife ended up on the exact same path as Maximus. I don't think it ends up more impactful if it's then revealed that it's his son. That's, and I think most people would agree with that. But I don't know. Maybe the hammy normie just loves that. But retconning almost always sucks. So, I don't know. Overall, solid movie, though. Solid movie. So those were the Gladiator movies. Let me know what you guys think about the Trump thing. Am I crazy for that? For thinking this movie's like a symbolism for the end of wokeness? I was like, no, there's no way that, like, in my head, I'm like, there's no way that's what they're thinking, man. Like, you're just thinking that. And I'm like, I don't know. So you guys let me know. Anyway, we'll do a quick sports corner here to end because obviously there's a lot of Bears news to unpack. I won't do too much on it. 2 weeks ago, obviously, I didn't get to do the results last week because I didn't do an episode last week. So 2 weeks ago, week 12 in the NFL, I'm not going to go game by game like I usually do, but just to give my score, another positive week, 7-6. I believe I've been at or above 500 every week except one. So for the year, way up. I should have bet all my bets, but I'd need $1 million to do that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Week 13, I went 12-3, and then I picked the Browns for tonight, Monday night. So we could say 12-4, whatever. Incredible week. Can't believe it. I'm not going to go through game by game just because we're a little short on time here. And ultimately, we didn't really learn that much. Pretty much everybody that won was a favorite or expected to win. Like Bryce Young is looking better. That's cool. I'm just kind of looking through the games here. I'll say any general notes. And they still found a way to lose. They're still bad, so whatever. Nothing else there. I mean, the Bears, obviously, we'll get to that. The Niners officially are not good and the season's over. I think that's pretty safe to say. Baltimore on concern watch. I've still said, they don't have a number one. Zay Flowers is very good, but he's small. He's not the big body guy. He's not A.J. Brown. They need an A.J. Brown. That's what would set Lamar up. And he's playing out of this world. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying a guy needs to be able to get open for Lamar to do what he needs to do. And if they can't get open, or, big body guys don't really need to be as open, I guess is kind of my point. And it's just that guy can't be a tight end. It just can't. I'm sorry. It only works for the Chiefs. That's really it. Washington, we'll see if the Kingsbury slump continues. I don't know. The Jets, an absolute abomination. I just want to say that. That was unbelievable. They should have been winning. They could have went up 28-6 or something. Would have set the whole game over. Unbelievable. Yeah, nothing else really of note. I will say that hit on Trevor Lawrence was fucked up. It was real fucked up. Yeah, I just didn't like that. I don't like that D'Amico Ryans was they overreacted. It's they didn't overreact, man. That was dirty as fuck. The guy gave himself up. That's the reason. That's the whole rule. I've always thought that sliding was weird because you are setting yourself up to just get wrecked in the fucking head like that. But I guess how else would you slide? Booty first? And then you get hit in the back of the head and go face down? I'm sure that would be worse. So, yeah, I don't know if there's a good way to do that. But that was unfortunate. Yeah, there's nothing else really of note. The Colts going for 2. That was awesome. I'm glad they did that. I thought they should have done that. Then I did think the Patriots were weirdly going to make the 68-yard field goal. That would have been also awesome. But no, they should have just done the Hail Mary. And then the Raiders thing, I mean, I still don't get, was it a false start or was it an illegal shift? Because the thing is, if that should have been a false start and they just chose to give the Chiefs the ball, then I really don't like that. But either way, just catch the snap. So you shouldn't be in that position. So yeah, a good 12-3 week, though. Pretty much chalk. So the Bears, look, they should have done this before the season. We all know that. There's nothing you can do about that. They should have done it probably after the Cardinals game, if not the Patriots game. We all know that. Can't do anything about it. The season is pretty much over. They could win 5 straight. I really don't see that happening. They'll maybe win 2 or 3 now instead of going over. So that's cool, and that's good. My only major concern with this is that if Thomas Brown is right on the fringe of being good or not, and if Caleb really likes him or something, and it seems like, oh, he should definitely be like the OC, that would be messy. But is he good enough to just be the head coach? And should we keep him if the players really like him, even if that means there's technically a better or not candidate out there? That's the thing that leaves a classic Bears like mismanagement of decision making. It's just asking for it. It's asking for it to be like, should we keep Thomas Brown? Yes or no? And either the yes or no will be a huge mistake, no matter what it is. I personally think that unless he like wins out and sneaks into the playoffs, or even just wins out, that should be the only thing. That should be like the only way. I could see them winning 4 in a row and then losing to the Packers in the last game of the year and missing the playoffs on just that game, because that's such the most Bears thing to do. And that would also be the sign to move on from Thomas Brown. Now, if everybody loves Thomas Brown and we hire Mike Vrabel and he's like, let's fucking keep Thomas Brown, that's the right decision for this football team and for this offense, and everybody's on board with that, like everybody's on board with that, the players, Mike Vrabel, Thomas Brown, all of that, then let's do that. That would be like maybe a dream scenario if that could work out in that way. Now, having said that, again, unless Brown is incredible and everybody's clamoring to keep him and he's going to be this huge hot hire and we're going to look stupid for letting him go, then I want Vrabel number 1. He's just a great football coach. That is proven. The Titans overperformed year in, year out. With Arthur Smith, who has been deemed a joke, although the Steelers' offense looks fucking great now, too. So, he's a great OC, whatever. Ben Johnson just not proven as a head coach, but the offense would be good unless he's that bad of a head coach, which that's what interviews are for. But do the Bears know how to do that? No, not really. So that's why he's my number 2. He was always my number 1. You listened to my podcast last year after the Bears season. All I said was, let's get Ben Johnson. I was saying it during the year. Fuck Luke Getsy. Fire this guy. Fire the coach. Let's get Ben Johnson. Didn't happen, obviously. This offseason, I wanted Jim Harbaugh. Vrabel's a Harbaugh type guy. I wanted Harbaugh this year. So those are my thoughts. I mean, Flus obviously should have been fired. The way that game went down is an embarrassment. There's a tiny bit of responsibility on Caleb. Flus is like, it's 18 seconds. The ball is supposed to be snapped. And he's like, then at 12 seconds, your hands are tied. You got to run the play. It's like, well, what happened between 18 and 12, man? Call the timeout at fucking 17 then. And we run a play and try to get out of bounds. And if it doesn't work, then it's 4th down. And at least we got to run 2 plays. You go out of bounds only because you're not going to be able to spike it because then it's 4th down. You go out of bounds only. Yeah, and there's not going to be enough time to switch. Maybe you go for the switch. But either way, you go out of bounds, you get the play, you have time to run the field goal team out. Whatever. To do nothing is the worst thing, and that was just a complete disaster. And the fact that they keep being in close games, they should have been killed in that game. The whole thing was screaming blowout, and they managed to hold on, and that's good for them. But we'll see when the guy goes from passing game coordinator, and the same thing, it's like he should have just been hired as OC in the first place, and maybe that whole thing would have been different, but then maybe that would have meant they kept Flus. Flus is gone, and that's all we needed, and now as long as we fucking look better, and the best thing that happens for Caleb Williams, who's going to be an absolute star in this league, he is showing so much more ability than anyone that I've ever seen play quarterback for the Bears. The talent we have at receiver is undeniable. He is truly going to be special unless we, this is way beyond, unless we fuck it up, because we already fucked it up, and he still looks incredible. So unless we just continue him on a fucked path, we're okay having gotten through this mistake, this amount of adversity for him to still be this good and, this decisive and just talented and just being able to play. I've never seen anything like it before. So fuck you guys. Do it for Caleb. Get it right for Caleb and everything will be fine. So whatever that takes is whatever that takes. No matter what, they got me. I will be optimistic going into next year, pretty much, unless they make just a fucking whiff hire right off the jump and we all sniff it out. Then that would be a disaster. But no matter what, I'm going to be hyped for Caleb if they just get some O-line help. So, it's going to be another fucking fun, exhilarating offseason. I just want the drama to stop, and I just want the winning to start, and we will see if that can finally happen. But I don't think it will. I don't know. I just don't know. It's tugging at your heartstrings every fucking time. I'll talk to you next week. But before I go, please remember, rate, review, and subscribe. Check out all the links in the description below. Thank you for tuning in. I are fat. You are fat. We are fat. Calculator.